people. It's the men. It's always the men who are the problem. I don't know why, but it's always men. Hello and welcome back to Solving Agatha Christie. This time, Evil Under the Sun. Right now I'm sitting on the train from Amsterdam to Berlin. The train started at 6 p.m. We will arrive at 1 p.m. in Berlin, so that's 7 hours, a little less, because we have to change trains and stuff. And in this time I will see if I can read and solve this Agatha Christie Poirot novel. And so far it's been great. It's now 8 p.m. and I have been reading and writing, making notes since 6:30, so like 1.5 hours, and I've only read 2 chapters so far because there's a lot of information. So this novel is about Arlena Stewart, who is murdered in a hotel. This is like a beach crime, and everyone's a suspect, everyone who's at the hotel. And so we have a lot of people there. Okay, let's get into it. The people at the hotel. First we have our murder victim, who in the first 2 chapters is still alive. Her name is Arlena Stewart. Or it was Arlena Stewart, because she newly married, and now her last name is Marshall, so it's Arlena Marshall. She is a little over 30, and she's a retired actress. She did mostly stage things. I don't know if she also did some film, but she's an actress. And she is gorgeous. She's a gorgeous woman. When we first see her, she wears like a backless white bathing dress. She's tan, she has red hair, dark blue eyes. There's something slightly Chinese about her looks. I don't know about that one. And of course, she is newlywed to Captain Kenneth Marshall, who's also there. That's her new husband, Captain Kenneth Marshall. He is about 40-ish. He is a quiet man with a pleasant face. He is fair-haired, he also has a tan, and he actually was married before to a woman who died. And with this woman he had a daughter called Linda Marshall. Linda is also here. She is the daughter of Ken, and she's 16. She's got freckles, high cheekbones, greenish-grey eyes and brown hair. She is quite unsure of herself. She's in that phase where she just left school and she wants to find out what she wants to do next. And she really, really hates Arlena. A lot of people seem to hate Arlena. I don't know why. They can never give a concrete reason. The reason is basically just that she's too pretty, and so she is like, everyone is either jealous of her or thinks she's a gold digger and that she's just after men all the time. I don't know, but everyone has got something against her, but it's not like she's a mean person per se. I think she just likes men. She's like very sexual. People don't like that because it disrupts relationships. Apropos relationship, we have Mr. and Mrs. Gardner attending in the hotel. They are an American couple. They are the Americans. Mrs. Gardner talks a lot and she knits a lot. Clickety clackety. Yeah, there's a lot. And she also has a daughter, but the daughter is not with her. Her daughter's called Irene. And her husband, Mr. Odell C. Gardner, is more of a quiet type. And they are currently doing England, which just means they are traveling all around England, and they're on vacation there. Then we have Miss Emily Brewster, who's not married. She is a tough, athletic woman, and she has like a weather-beaten face. I think she also owns a boat. She goes by boat, I don't know. And yeah, she's quite tough. And she says that she knows a good deal about Arlena, and thinks that she is evil. Arlena's an evil person. But we don't know what connection they have and why she knows so much. Then we have Major Barry. I've only written down 2 points for him. First, he's single, he's a bachelor. Second, he's a sailor. Huh? Anyway, that's it. We also have a man of faith, Reverend Stephen Lane. He is 50 plus. He is tall and a vigorous clergyman, but also he's on vacation. Everyone here is on vacation, yeah. It's sometimes in August the sun is shining. People are vacationing. So he wears like grey flannel trousers that are like vacation-y, and his face is very tan. He believes in evil. I mean, this book is called Evil Under the Sun, so evil is quite the motive here, but he's like, evil exists, and Alina is evil. Why? We have another couple, Mr. and Mrs. Redfern. Mrs. Redfern, Mrs. Christine Redfern, used to be a school teacher. But I think she's still, they are in their 30s, 40s, maybe, still quite young. She is very fair, she is very white skin, ash blonde hair, her arms and legs are almost white, and she has a pretty face, but a serious one, and very dainty, small hands and feet. And with her is her husband. They are newlyweds. They have married 1 or 2 years ago. Her husband is Patrick Redfern, who is described as very endearing, lean, bronzed, broad shoulders, perfect man, and he's like a happy fellow, you know. Everyone kind of likes him, likes to be around him, and he looks good. He's like a good piece of human meat, you know. And Patrick and Arlena, in these first 2 chapters, they started talking a bit, and it looks like there's a connection between them. Arlena wanted to go to the specific hotel, and she told her husband, Marshall, about it and made him come. And Patrick, similarly, told Christine about this hotel and that he wanted to go there, and they came. And now it looks like Patrick and Arlena have a little fling, maybe, and the respective partners of them are not happy about it. Yeah. And then we have 2 more guests at the hotel, 2 more famous people. One is Miss Rosamond Darnley, who, under her nickname Rosemond, is, because her first name is Rosamond, so it's Rosemond. She is a dressmaker, like one of the most celebrated and famous dressmakers of all of England. And she designs clothes. She has sleek waves of dark hair, a graceful figure, and she wears a navy blue dress when we first see her. She has been to the hotel before. She went 2 years ago around Easter, and she liked it, so she came back, but now she doesn't like it because there are too many people. It's August now, so, you know, summer vacation. She is single, but she actually grew up with Kenneth Marshall, and she likes him. I think she liked him as a boy, and she definitely likes him. I just don't know if she likes him, but she doesn't agree with his marriage choices. She thinks that Alina is a gold digger. Yeah, that's Miss Rosamond Darnley. And the last guest that we have at the hotel doing his very best to just have a nice vacation is Monsieur Poirot. Poirot, who is just sitting there watching the people, listening to everyone talk. It's quite a noisy atmosphere. And yeah, where we are, the first 2 chapters was basically just a big introduction of all of the people, all of the hotel, and just pointing out that everyone more or less has an opinion about Arlena, and most don't like her. Except for Mayor Barry, who is the bachelor sailor, who just likes pretty women, I guess. She's a pretty woman, and he saw her on stage once and was like, oh, pretty. Anyway, I will now start with chapter 3. Hopefully I don't have to write down as much anymore, because it really takes a lot of time away, and I don't have a lot of time. There's a time limit on this. And yeah, let's see if finally Arlena dies.
She's not dead yet.
No, first 2 chapters she's not dead yet. She is talking, and she's walking around talking to Patrick, which gives everyone a reason to think some things about her, you know?
Oh, okay.
And we see a bit how she interacts with people. Maybe she is a bitch, I don't know. Yeah. It is 17 past 9, and I'm at chapter 5 now, and finally the murder has happened. Arlene is dead. My god. It's time, okay? We met a new character. His name is Horace Blood. And apparently he is like an older man with red hair and a bald spot, and he likes to be around people. He wants to be the life and soul of the party, you know, of every place he goes into, and he likes to talking to people. And he also used to sail. He was a sailor once, but everyone kind of avoids him because they're like, yeah, he's kind of weird. He tells a lot of unfunny jokes and we don't like him. And so yeah, that's the other new character. And then basically in these 2 chapters, it tells us the evening and the morning of the murder. The evening before the murder and the morning of the murder. And what happens in the morning is there is like a detailed list what everyone is doing at what specific time, where they are, where they say they will go. And we begin with Poirot, who is at the beach helping Arlena to climb into a boat. She is paddling away, rowing the boat away. She is paddling away, and she says she wants to be alone, but Poirot is like, I don't believe it for 1 second. This bitch will never want to be alone. I'm sure she will rendezvous with someone. And then a few other people come down the beach, and Poirot thinks, oh, she's going to meet Patrick Redfern, right? Because they have a little fling going on. And the night before, he overheard how Patrick told Arlena that he is crazy about her. He's in love with her and crazy about her, but he didn't overhear Arlena's answer. Anyway, that theory is disproven like right away, because Patrick actually with Arlena's husband, they both come down to the beach and they wait there for the arrival of Arlena, and where she doesn't arrive, she has rowed away. And a few more people join, and the husband goes away again, and Patrick decides to go on a rowboat together with the athletic woman, Emily Brewster, and they row around the island, and he is obviously looking for Arlena somewhere on the island, and he finds her in Pixie Grove, which is like a smallish beach, and she looks like she's sunbathing, like she's laying on the beach, her head down, a big hat to protect her head and neck, and her arms are like away from her. And he calls her, but she doesn't answer, so they go on land. And then Emily Brewster thinks to herself, oh, this is weird. She looks like she's sunbathing, but there's no sun on this beach, because there are big cliffs overhead. And in the morning, when the sun shines, the cliffs are in the way, and the whole beach is in shadows. So why would she be sunbathing? And they come closer, and they discover that she is dead. And first, Emily thinks, oh, she looks like she has been pushed from the cliffs. But then Patrick lifts her head, and he sees, or he exclaims, oh my god, she has been strangled. So now Patrick is with her,
And Emily is rowing back to talk to the police about it or let Poirot know or whatever. But we finally have the victim dead. Also, the what's her name? Lara, whatever. The child, the 16-year-old, the child of Marshall, Mr. Marshall. She has got something in her head. I don't know what she wants to do, but she's got a plan. And she went early this morning, sneakily out of the house to buy some candles, a box of candles. I don't know what her idea is, but she really, really hates Arlena so much that she even thought about, I want to kill her. But you know, she's 16. I don't think she did it. Also, right now, she is supposedly together with the wife of Patrick Redford in some kind of grove painting. The wife likes to paint and Leah just sits next to her and enjoys her company. We will arrive in Hanover, which is where we have to take a different train in about 30 minutes, 40 minutes maybe, 40 minutes. And I don't think I will be able to finish this on the train ride. I will do my best, but you know, this camera, talking to the camera, it takes time. It is 11:08, I think. No, it's 11:19. We're still not in Berlin, we are in Wolfsburg, because we had to... Anyway, it's a long story, okay? The train is fucked up. Whatever. We're waiting on the train that's too late, okay? And all the while I read a few more chapters, but guys, come on. I'm not even in the middle of the book. Whatever, okay? I will finish this video, however. Okay, now Inspector Colgate is on it, together with Constable Weston. No, Colonel? Chief Constable, Colonel Weston. Ah, whatever. They are on the case, okay? And they know Poirot, so of course Poirot is now also officially working on it. Well, the victim was strangled, we know that, by a pair of powerful hands, taken by surprise. No sign of a struggle, or she didn't put up much of a struggle, so that again leads the men to think that a woman could not have done it, except for if it was a very muscly woman. There's one athletic woman on the suspect list, of course, but yeah, they seem to think that certainly it was a man who did the crime. Which is weird, because when they interview the husband and everyone, it's quite clear that most of the enemies this woman has, most of them are female. Because they are jealous, or because, I don't know, they're doing, like, she is like a succubus, you know, she's grabbing all the men, and the women don't like it. So then why would a man kill her? We don't know. Anyway, we determined the estimate time of death, and yeah, it was that little time between Poirot saw her and she was found. It's like 1 hour perhaps, so it's really a small time slot. And then we move on. They talk to Mrs. Castle, who is the owner of the hotel. The hotel is called Jolly Roger Hotel anyway. And she was very much not helpful. Nice lady, but not helpful at all. I don't even know why I mentioned it. Then they interviewed the husband of the deceased, Marshall. And turns out I said they were newlyweds, because that's what the book communicated to me, but apparently they have been married for over 4 years. Does that still count as newlywed? I don't know. Anyway, and before she was married, her real name was Helen Stewart. Arlena Stewart is just her actress name, you know, her stage name. And She, after her marriage, was still on stage a lot, but she retired about a year and a half ago for no specific reason. At least that's what Marshall tells us, but we cannot be sure of that because he is lying quite openly to Poirot in this, because they are asking him if he knew about the affair that was going on, the flirtation, and he knew because Poirot, when he overheard Arlena and the Randolph, Mr. Ranford talking, like 2 seconds later he also met Kenneth Marshall, so he was there and would have also overheard it, so he's lying to the police. Alright. We also find out that they stay in separate rooms, Marshall and Arlena, or they stayed in the separate rooms, so yeah. And apparently she was opening letters before she left, but he asked her what letters they were and she just said, oh, they're like bills, lots of bills. And his alibi is that at the time of death, of course, he left the beach, he went with Poirot and sat with Poirot in the morning, then he went to the beach and he typed up some bank statements and letters in his room. And he typed up 3 letters and he gave these letters to the inspector to prove that he was at work, and he told them, you can have one of your men try to copy what I've typed on the typewriter, and you will find that honestly it's impossible to write that in under like an hour. So I must have been doing it, which is bullshit, because he could have prepared the letters like the night before. Doesn't have to be in that specific hour, but whatever, that's his alibi. There's a lot about smoking in this book. I don't know if I should focus on that more, because certain people smoke certain cigarettes and pipes and whatever.
Well, it's an old book.
Yeah.
Maybe they smoked more on vacation.
Maybe they just smoke, or it's a clue. I think they just smoke. He tells them that they didn't have a talk about the affair that was going on, which is also a lie because we read about it, they talked about it. He asked her to please stop it, and she said, oh, I only have eyes for you, darling. But when the inspector asked about it, he was like, I never know of anything and I never cared, which is also a lie. So they are not getting anything out of him. And Poirot also says, so Poirot says to him, what have you told us about your wife? Exactly nothing at all. You have told us only what everyone could see for themselves, that she was beautiful and admired, nothing more. Oh yeah, he also tells us that apparently she was quite rich, because a former lover of hers, there was this whole story of how she broke up a marriage, and the guy originally wanted to marry her, but then didn't. Anyway, he was an older guy and he died, and he left her about £50,000. So she was actually quite financially not only stable, but she was kind of rich. But apparently she never made a will, because she said, allegedly, that it would give her the shivers thinking about it. Like, doll, please, make a will. What? So everything, the whole riches will go to the husband, of course. Then they go on about how it couldn't have been committed by a woman. Neston, I think that's a doctor. Neston's pretty confident that she was strangled by a man. Big hands, powerful grip. It's just possible, of course, that an unusually athletic woman might have done it, but it's damn unlikely. They also briefly talk about the possibility that someone else could have gone to the beach, someone who's not at the hotel, but you see, this hotel is on a little island and it's surrounded by water. The only way to get there is through a bridge that, when the tide is high, is swept over, so you have to use a boat, and boats are very far and few between, so you would have to row like a long time to get to the island, and it's just unlikely. So that's why they're focusing on the guests. Oh yeah, based on the description of big burly hands, they also immediately rule out the wife of Mr. Redfern, Mrs. Redfern, you know, because she has small, dainty hands. The one that is like very blonde and white. Even though she had a motive, she could not have done it. And Poirot gets the feeling that there's just something that they might have missed. But what is it? I don't know. Then they go over all of the people that are there. So they gave me a list, actually. I didn't need to write everyone down. because they wrote everything down for me. Look at these. These are all of the guests at the fucking hotel. The first two, these are just big families with children that were immediately disregarded. They were like, these families come here every summer. They went out fishing with the boys. Forget about them. So then we only have the other suspects, and then Poirot tells a little bit of his opinion of what he thinks of every single suspect on the list. And I would love to give you the gist of it, okay? Poirot said, the Gardeners are a middle-aged married couple, pleasant, travelled. All the talking is done by the lady. The husband is exquisite. He plays tennis, golf, and has a form of dry humour that is attractive when one gets into himself. These are the Americans. The Redferns. Mr. Redfern is young, attractive to women, a magnificent swimmer, a good tennis player, and accomplished dancer. That's the affair partner. His wife, I've already spoken to. She is quiet, pretty in a washed-out way, which is very mean of him to say. How dare he? She is, I think, devoted to her husband. She has something that Arlena Marshall did not have. And what is that? Brains. This man, Poirot, come on, so savage. Major Berry, retired Indian Army, an admirer of women, a teller of long and boring stories. Then Mr. Horace Blood, he is apparently a rich man. I forgot to mention that. He always talks about how rich he is. He talks a good deal about himself. He wants to be everybody's friend. It is sad, for nobody likes him very much. Mr. Blatt last night asked me a good many questions. Mr. Blatt was uneasy. Yes, there's something not quite right about Mr. Blatt. I guess we will figure out. Next, Miss Rosamond Darnley. Her business name is Rosemont. She is a celebrated dressmaker. What can I say of her? She has brains and charm and chic. She is very pleasant to look at. And a very old friend of Captain Marshall. Who comes next? Miss Brewster. I find her just a little alarming. She has a voice like a man's. She is gruff and what you call hearty. She rows boats and has a handicap at 4 at golf. I think, though, that she has a good heart. We can see clearly which women he prefers, Poirot, personally. So I think Miss Brewster could still be in the running for strangulation. And then Reverend Steve Lane. I can only tell you one thing. He is a man who is in condition of great nervous tension, and also he is, I think, a fanatic. And that's how far I've come so far. This is grueling. See you later. Wir sind jetzt wieder in Berlin. Wir sitzen in der U-Bahn. I did not manage to read the whole book. I didn't. Ich bin etwas über der Hälfte. I'm slightly above half. I failed my mission, but I will solve this mystery tomorrow. I'm going to sleep. It's like 1:30. Good night.
So, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's been a while. Not like 2 years, but it's been 2 days or 3 days. It's not the day after, it's not even the day after the day after. It's been 3 days, okay? I did not finish this book in my journey, but to be fair, it was a very complicated journey, okay? Deutsche Bahn is just always an experience. Anyway, this is how far I've come. I don't know if you can see. Whoop. So yeah, still a while to go, but anyway, let's talk about the next 2 chapters, because right now I'm at the start of chapter 9. So the Colonel Weston and Inspector what's his name, they are continuing to interview people, and right now they are interviewing Lena, the daughter of Mr. Marshall and the stepdaughter of the murder victim. And it says here in her descriptions, her hands rested helplessly on the table in front of him. Pathetic hands, big and red, with large bones and long wrists. And I'm just wondering if that
description was put in there to suggest that she, even though she is a woman, could have done the murder because her hands are big with large bones and long wrists, like maybe a man's hand would. I don't believe she did it. What I do believe, because we later go into her room and find a few things, I will talk to you about what my theory is when we get to there. But anyway, that's in the description. And she said that she basically was with Christine. Christine was painting and they were there almost the whole day, or like the whole Vormittag. Linda said she was painting with Christine the whole morning. She was with her. Linda herself, she was sunbathing and then she went into the ocean, and Christine was there the whole time, except she went back to the hotel at some point to then get changed for tennis, and then Linda was alone and Christine was going off to a tennis match. When Linda talks to the detective, she also says that Arlena was quite kind to me, which is a lie, and she also, when Weston said, Weston talks about how, oh, that's good, sometimes, you know, there's a bit of difficulty in families, jealousy, all that. Girl and her father get great pals, and then the girl resents it a bit when the father, is wrapped up with the new wife. Do you feel like that happened? And she also says no. So basically she's a liar, pants on fire. Lots of people are directly lying to the police in here. When they ask her if she thinks that maybe Mrs. Redfern, that Christine did it, Linda says that Mrs. Redfern could never do a thing like that, kill anybody, she isn't violent. And Weston and Poirot nodded, and Poirot also says, I know exactly what you mean, my child. I agree with you. Mrs. Redfern is not one of those who, as you say, sees red. She would not be shaken by a storm of feeling, seeing life narrow in front of her, seeing a hated face, a hated white neck, feeling her hands clench, longing for them to press into flesh. And then he stops, and Linda moved jerkily back from the table. She said in a trembling voice, can I go now, or is that all? So I think Poirot is painting that, or testing her, by putting these fantasies in her head, seeing how she reacts to it, if maybe she feels, I don't know, I think he's testing if she could have done it. And I think she's had these fantasies before, Linda, she fantasized about it, but I don't think she would do it. I don't think so. I think she did something else. Let's continue then. Anyway, then they interview Mr. Patrick Redfern. He basically tells them, yes, we had something going on even before coming here, and my wife knew that we met, but she didn't know how often they were seeing each other. And it's Arlena's idea to come here to the retreat. It was Arlena's idea. She wanted them to come, and so that's why Mr. Redfern convinced Christine to also come. So the thing is that no one quite knows if Arlena's husband, Mr. Marshall, if he knows who Arlena is, that she likes to have like different relationships with different men, and that he just accepts that, or if he is maybe jealous about it, if he doesn't like it. So it's not clear how much he knew, or like it's not clear if what he knew he just accepted as that, or if he was actually not happy about it. And they ask Mr. Redfern if she seemed to be afraid of her husband, and he denies that and said no, I don't think she was scared of him. And it also turns out that Mr. Redfern and Arlena usually met every morning on the beach, so that's why also Mr. Redfern was there this particular morning waiting for Arlena. So my camera died, so I had to switch to my phone. Anyway, what I neglected to tell you about is that there is the Pixie Cove where the body was found. There is also a Pixie Cave. It's a cave that has been there for a very long time,
so long that the newer generations of people probably don't know about it anymore. But Mr. Redfern, who grew up here, knows. And I think that means that our clothing designer lady, she probably also knows. And there's a possibility that maybe that's a good hiding spot for someone waiting to ambush Arlena. So they want to go in there and want to look around if they see anything. So the problem presents itself. Why did Arlena go to Pixie Cove? And like, who was she meeting there, basically? And they asked Mr. Redfern if they ever went to Pixie Cove together. And Mr. Redfern said that they were, of course, meeting every morning and go around on the paddles, but this was at the beach location. And then in the afternoons, he would go to Gull Cove and not to the Pixie Cove. And when asked why, he says, you see, Pixie Cove faces west and people go around there in boats or on floats in the afternoon. We never tried to meet in the morning. It would have been too noticeable. In the afternoon, people go and have a sleep or mooch around and nobody knows where anyone else is. So, yeah, I don't know if that's interesting or not. But anyway, this book has a map. And I really love maps. Anyway, to get to Pixie Cove, you can either paddle or you have to take a ladder. Like, Pixie Cove is under some cliffs and you have to go downstairs these cliffs on a ladder. And that's another reason why Christine couldn't have done it, because she is afraid of heights and she would never go down this ladder. Poirot is also afraid of heights, by the way. And he also doesn't like being in a boat because he gets seasick. So he's not been to Pixie Cove yet, but he will be going. Next, they speak to Christine Redfern and they ask her a few things. They are talking about the morning, what she did in the morning and what habits she had. And they ask her if she took a bath before breakfast. And she said she seldom bathes in the morning, but or takes a shower. But her husband, Mr. Redfern, almost always does. Also, Arlena didn't do it. Arlena was the person to take her breakfast in bed and only appear like around the afternoon. She was definitely not someone to get up very early, which is even weirder that on this particular morning she went up, didn't take breakfast in bed, but went to the beach immediately to meet someone. They, of course, ask her also about the whereabouts of Lena in the morning, and so Lena told Christine that she went down to the beach, took a quick little bath. There is like a point where you can access the beach from the hotel. It's really easy. It's basically right behind the hotel. There's a ladder that goes into the beach. And Linda told Christine that she went to the beach. But Christine kind of knows that this is a lie, because when Christine came into Linda's room to offer her to go painting with her, she saw that, first of all, Linda was not looking wet, and second of all, she had a box of something. So she had not been bathing in the morning, but she actually went over the causeway to a little garage where there's a little shop, and she bought something and that she had in a box. But she still lies to the police and tells them that Linda took a bath, even though it's not true. Also, they ask her if she saw Linda going swimming on the beach when Christine left to go to play tennis, and she said, yes, I heard her splashing in the waves, but that to me is a no, right? Because she didn't really see it. She just heard the waves. I don't know. Then went to go to the tennis courts with Captain Marshall, Mr. Gardner and Miss Darnley. So that would be an alibi for all three of them. And I ask her about her opinion of Arlena. I ask you, madame, were you really very surprised at the manner of her death? Were you surprised that Arlena was brutally strangled? Christine said slowly, I think I see what you mean. No, I was perhaps not surprised. Shocked, yes, but she was the kind of woman
Poirot finished the sentence for her. She was the kind of woman to whom such a thing might happen. Yes, madame, that is the truest and most significant thing that has been said in this room this morning. Laying all personal feelings aside, what did you really think of the late Mrs. Marshall? And that's where Christine says very calmly, relaxed, and also like very raw. She's the kind of woman that, to my mind, is absolutely worthless. She did nothing to justify her existence. She had no mind, no brains. She thought of nothing but men and clothes and admiration. Useless, a parasite. She was attractive to men, I suppose, or of course she was, and she lived for that kind of life. And so I suppose I wasn't really surprised at her coming to a sickly end. She was the sort of woman who would be mixed up with everything sordid: blackmail, jealousy, violence, every kind of crude emotion. She appealed to the worst in people. And after she said that, Poirot points out or asks her why did she specifically mention blackmail, and she says, yeah, well, because she was blackmailed. So it turns out Christine overheard something. It was an accident, she says. It was 3 nights ago. We were playing bridge. While they were playing bridge, she kind of got up and went to the window, and she heard some voices. She heard Arlena's voice. And Arlena said, "It's no good pressing me. I can't get you any more money now. My husband will suspect something." And then a man's voice said, "I'm not taking any excuses. You've got to cough up." And then Arlena Marshall said, "You blackmailing brute." And the man said, "Brute or not, you'll pay up, my lady." She said that the voice of the man was gruff and low, but it might have been anybody's. So obviously, because Arlena says my husband might find out about it, blah, 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 we can assume that it was not Mr. Redfern who was the blackmailer. It could be anyone else on the island, but probably also a man. So this is the thing. The people who love Arlena, or the people who hate Arlena the most, are all women. And they are constantly like, no, it couldn't have been a woman, it couldn't have been a woman. And so in my mind, that makes me think, like, is that a red herring? Is that just something that we are about to assume and then it really was a woman? Or is this them telling us, don't focus on the women. The mystery is that it's not a woman and that someone has something to do here and you have to find out. And it's like, are they tricking me or not? My gosh, was it a man or not? I almost just want to Google, is the murderer a man? Just so that I can get this whole woman-man thing out of my mind. It's crazy. Anyway, she was being blackmailed. We don't know what for, but... yeah. The thing is, if she was being blackmailed, the blackmailer would not necessarily be the murderer also. Because if you blackmail someone, well, you wouldn't want to murder them, right? Because you want them to give you money. Unless maybe she did something, so there could potentially be 2, a murderer and a blackmailer, or it could be the same person, but it's probably 2 different people. Ah, my gosh. As to the whereabouts of the other people on the morning, on the beach, there was Monsieur Poirot and a few other people. All of them stayed there except for the American husband. The American husband and the American wife were at the beach with Monsieur Poirot, but the American husband left to fetch some wool for the knitting of the American wife, and he was gone a long time, longer than you will need to fetch some wool, because apparently he didn't found it. So he could potentially maybe have done something, but I don't believe it. The other ones, Mayor Barry went out at 10 o'clock in the morning. He returned at 1:30. Mr. Lane, the church guy, he was earlier still. He breakfasted at 8. He said he was going for a tramp. And Mr. Blood went off for a sail at 9:30. In the same boat as he does most days. Neither of them are back yet. Then Mayor Barry comes back and they ask him about it. He basically just says, I don't know anything, there's nothing I can do to help. He does say that he believes that it was not an affair where just Mr. Redfern was infatuated with Arlena, but that Arlena also really liked Mr. Redfern. And we know that Arlena has told her husband, Captain Marshall, in an earlier scene, well, I only have eyes for you and I only love you, and, you know, this is just like a fun thing on the side, basically. But Mr. Blood thinks it's otherwise. He thinks, no, Arlena really liked Mr. Redfern, and Captain Marshall was just too stupid to see it. Then they speak to Emily Brewster, and this I think is more interesting because Emily Brewster said in the very beginning that she knows an awful lot about Arlena, that Arlena is evil. So they ask her about that, and she reveals that my first cousin married one of the Erskines. You probably heard that the woman induced old Sir Robert when he was in his dotage. So basically, this is the story about Arlena's first husband. Arlena had an affair with an old Sir Robert that ruined his marriage, and Sir Robert said that after the divorce and everything, he would be together with Arlena, but then he decided not to. And then this is also the guy that died and that gave her all of that money. Basically, Miss Emily Brewster knows about this because she has a cousin who married into the family that was, I don't know, the family that knows Sir Robert, and that's why she says that Arlena is an evil person, because she had seduced Sir Robert. Also, there's another story that she knows about a young fellow. Here, I know something else too. A young fellow who lost his head about her completely. He'd always been a bit wild. Naturally, his association with her pushed him over the edge. He did something rather fishy with some shares, solely to get money to spend on her, and only just managed to escape prosecution. That woman contaminated everyone she met. Look at the way she was ruining young Redfern. I can't have any regrets for her death. But of course, it would have been better if she had drowned herself. Okay, so this is Emily Brewster's opinion. So we have a young fellow who was apparently driven to financial ruin because he kept buying gifts for Arlena and investing money into stocks and shares, and it just didn't turn out well. And will this young man have anything to do with this story, or is that kind of the blackmail material? Anyway, Emily Brewster also tells about when she and Mr. Redfern went out and actually found the body. They rowed the boat, and before they hit Pixie Cove, they were rowing around the edge of the cliff on Sunny Ledge. And on Sunny Ledge, there they saw Miss Darnley, the dressmaker, sunbathing. Miss Darnley has already told the inspector that she was there all morning, but later she comes in again and actually kind of revises that statement, and that's a weird thing. Miss Darnley comes back to the inspector and Poirot just to tell them, oh, I forgot, I actually was not on the ledge all morning. I forgot my sunshades inside, and I went back to grab the sunshades. And that's also when I heard Captain Marshall writing his letters on his tiki-tiki machine. And so I heard the typewriter. It's a typewriter. And she apparently just wanted to ask if he's okay and opened up the little door, and she saw him typing vigorously, and then she decided not to bother him, and she pulled the door close again, and she left. But no one saw her going in and out. Even Captain Marshall did not see her, which is bringing up the question, why is she coming back now, just to add this little detail? Because all it does is basically give an extra alibi point for Captain Marshall, which they didn't need necessarily, because the letters that he were supposedly writing that he gave to the police checked it out, and there was a letter that arrived just the day before, and in this letter were some informations that he specifically mentioned in the letters that he typed out, so it couldn't have been pre-planned, because the information in the original letters hadn't, like, he didn't have the information until they arrived, and they arrived just shortly, like the evening before, the night before. And it is also not humanly possible to type all of this, because it's like financial figures and stuff like that, and you need at least like 2 or 3 hours, I don't know. So supposedly he has a safe alibi, but to me that makes it more suspicious. It makes it more suspicious, because then if his alibi is good anyway, why did Miss Darnley feel the need to include this little story about seeing him? Is it because she found out that he actually did it, and she wants to cover for him because she's in love with him? Or did he ask her to say anything? Or did she do something, and this is actually not an alibi for him but for her, but no one saw her, so it wouldn't make sense? This is driving me crazy. This picture of Miss Darnell is just... She is at the point in her career where she is a very accomplished dressmaker. She's good in money. She has like all of her career that she ever wanted, but now she's beginning to think, is that really what life is all about, or did I miss an opportunity by not marrying and not having children? I think she's a little lonely and she's looking for love in her life, and I think that could be a motive, because of course Arlena's in the way of that. She also has asked Captain Marshall if he would consider divorcing Arlena, but Marshall was like, because she thinks Arlena's not good for him, but Marshall was like, no, I hate this attitude that people nowadays have where they can just divorce something. I have done this pact with Arlena, I wed her, and now it is my I have to take care of her, and this is my duty, and I will do it, and I will not just give up on something. That's his attitude. So maybe she thought that getting rid of Arlena was her only choice. She also says, I've always assumed that Kenneth Marshall accepted his wife, quite frankly, for what she was, and had no illusions about her. So she believes that he knew about the affair, which of course he did, but that he just accepted it as part of Arlena, and was not very mad about it at all. So Poirot's on a mission now. He, when he spoke to Miss Brewster, she said that when she went swimming, my God, in the morning, that she was almost hit in the head by a bottle. And Poirot assumes that the bottle must have been thrown out of any of the windows of the hotel. So he tells the servant, a maid, to go through the rooms and see if any of the bottles are missing, like perfume bottles and stuff like that. And in the meantime, they also go through all the rooms to see the layout of the hotel, and also what they find in each room. So in Arlena's room, he finds a letter that was kind of hidden between some of her clothes. It reads, Darling Arlena, God, I feel blue to be going out to China and perhaps not seeing you again for years and years. I didn't know any man could go on feeling crazy about a woman like I feel about you. Thanks for the check. They won't prosecute now. It was a near shave, though, and all because I wanted to make big money for you. Can you forgive me? I wanted to set diamonds in your ears, your lovely, lovely ears, and clasp great milk-white pearls around your throat. Only they say pearls are no good nowadays. A fabulous emerald, then? Yes, that's the thing. A great emerald, cool and green and full of hidden fire. Don't forget me, but you won't, I know. You're mine, always. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. J.N. So J.N. went to China. Who the fuck is J.N.? Is it the one that Emily Brewster talked about before? The young man who was spending so much money on Arlena that he, because he says, oh, thank you for the check, so Arlena sent him some money, and he won't be prosecuted now. So apparently he was maybe on the... he was running away from the law or something. Maybe he had to pay off some things so he would not get incarcerated. Anyway, is this the same young man that was talked about before? And could this be Arlena's real, great, true love? Because Arlena is not someone to send out money randomly. I don't think so. Especially to someone who she is not profiting from anymore. JN. When they go into Lena's room, this is what I talked about before. They find the things that she bought this morning, which is lots and lots of candles. Something had been burnt here recently, said Poirot. And a large irregular blob of candle grease, some fragments of green paper or cardboard, possibly a pull-off calendar, from which it was an unburned fragment bearing a large figure 5 and a scrap of printing of noble deeds. There was also an ordinary pin and some burnt animal matter, which might have been hair. So what I think is that Lena did some witchcraft. Some voodoo. You know, with a little needle and something. I don't think she prepared anything to physically kill Arlena. I think she got the idea in a book to do some kind of witchy, niche thing, and she just ran with it to do some voodoo or something on her. I mean, this could also be the elaborate makings of some sort of device that she could use to kill Arlena, but I just don't think so. I think Lena did something that she got the idea from in a book, because Poirot looks through all of her books and he finds one. It is a small dumpy volume bound in brown calf. He took it out and opened it. He very slowly nodded his head. He murmured, "So I was right. Yes, I was right. But for the other, is that possible too? No, it's not possible. Unless," he stayed there motionless, stroking his mustache while his mind rang busily over the problem. He said again softly, "Unless." Notice how this book didn't tell us what book he found that was bound in leather. Blech. Anyway, I think it's like a 2-person ritual or something. I have no idea. This is giving me a headache. They again talked to the maid that was sent out to see if any bottles were missing. She didn't find any bottles to be missing. But she also said that Arlena had so many bottles in her room, she couldn't possibly tell. It could be, but she didn't keep track of all of them. But on the other rooms, everything seems fine. And when they ask her about the relationship, about Arlena and Captain Marshall, because the staff oftentimes get to hear things that the visitors don't, she says that she did think that Mrs. Marshall, that Arlena was frightened of her husband knowing about the affair. When they ask her what makes you say that, she answers, it wasn't anything definite, sir. It was only I felt that sometimes she was afraid of him. He was a very quiet gentleman, but he wasn't easy. They ask her about the letters that Arlena received this morning, because apparently she got some letters in the post, and there were about 6 or 7. And they were just ordinary looking letters. Some of them were bills and circulars, I think because they were torn up on the ashtray. One other weird thing that this maid says is that she heard someone bathing in the morning. She cannot say who, because she was in the kitchen, but she heard the water, unmistakably bath water that was being cleansed out. And yeah, she thought that was a bit odd. It was specifically around 12 o'clock. Then Stephen Lane returns from his walk around town. You know, the churchman. He said that he visited a church, how fitting, over in St. Pedrock. So 7 miles from here. But no one was there to see him. No one was in the church, not even the pastor. The vicar. The vicar! So he was all alone. But then again, he starts talking about how he thinks Alina was evil. He says, all I can tell you is this. I knew instinctively as soon as I saw her that Alina Marshall was a focus of evil. She was evil. Evil personified. Woman can be man's help and inspiration in life. She can also be man's downfall. She can drag a man down to the level of the beast. The dead woman was just such a woman. She appeared to everything base in a man's nature. She was a woman such as Jezebel and Aholibah. Now she's been struck down in the middle of her wickedness. And Hercule Poirot stirred. He said, not struck down, strangled Mr. Lane by a pair of human hands. Weston then says, okay, that's enough, let's row and let's go visit the cove, in the Pixie Cave, let's visit Pixie Cove. And Mr. Lane, Churchman, actually says, oh, can I come with? And even though Poirot, moments before that, said he doesn't want to come with because he doesn't want to be in a boat because he gets seasick, he is now like, yes, Mr. Lane, of course, come join me. I was also about to go. Let's go there together. So I think he wants to know something. Probably see the reaction of Mr. Lane when he actually sees this evil woman struck down, laying on the sand, dead. This is a long video, I'm very sorry. But we've almost made it, I tell you. I've been going through this like 2 chapters at a time. So much information. There's so much information in here. Who is where, when exactly, doing what. I think I have to draw a picture of, draw the timeline, because this is getting too confusing. So many characters, so many times, so many... It is the next day again. Surprise, surprise. Okay, anyway, I have started doing this. This is basically a list, like a timeline of when, what happened and who was where. I also started to sketch out what they found in the hotel rooms and where the hotel rooms are, who is next to who. But I got confused and I stopped. Anyway, this is the timeline. With all of the times, what happened when, where. And while I was doing this, I realized that actually Rosamund Darnley does not have an alibi at all. Because she said, like, she met, I will put up the timeline so you can see it, but she met with Linda at the hotel at 10:25. It's not that they were having a meeting. Linda was on her way out to Christine and Rosamund was there, and she told Linda, oh, I'm going to take my sunshade and I'm going to Sunny Ledge. That's the last time someone saw her. Then the next time someone supposedly saw her was at I think like between 11:20 and 11:45. It was when Patrick and Miss Brewster were rowing around the island to get to Pixie Cove. There they saw a sunshade on Sunny Ledge, and they assumed that it must have been the sunshade of Rosamund. But they didn't see her. They just saw a sunshade. So no one saw her, and then she appeared. The time people saw her was at 12 o'clock at the tennis court. So she does not have an alibi. No one has seen her. She is a suspect. One of my number 1 suspects. The police, Mr. Lane, the church guy, and Poirot went to the island to Pixie Cove and went into Pixie Cave. A lot of things were found on the island by the police. Lots of different things, but the ones that are most interesting to us is a pipe and some new scissors. The pipe... You know, you remember when I asked, like, oh my god, do you think... I said, like, oh, I don't know if it's... because the people are talking about smoking a lot. I don't know if it's just because of this era or if that's supposed to be a clue. There's a lot about smoking in this book. I don't know if I should focus on that more.
Well, it's an old book.
Yeah.
Maybe they smoked more on vacation.
Maybe they just smoke. Or it's a clue. I think it's just smoke. Apparently it was a clue. We know that Mr. Marshall is missing a pipe, and also Mr. Horace Blood is also smoking pipe. And when we later meet him, he says that he doesn't have one. And I have reason to believe that it is maybe the pipe of Mr. Blood, although it could be also Mr. Marshall. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, what else did they find? Well, in the cave, they find a lunchbox filled to the brim with heroin. So now we have not only a murder and blackmail, we also have drugs. Smuggling the drugs. We get some statements from Mr. Blood talking about Marshall, and he says about Captain Marshall, he looks very meek and mild, as though he were half asleep all the time, but that's not his reputation in the city. I've heard a thing or two about him. Nearly had up for assault once. Mind you, the fellow in question had put up a pretty dirty deal. Marshall had trusted him and the fellow had let him down cold. Particularly dirty business, I believe. Marshall went for him and half killed him. Fellow didn't prosecute, too afraid of what might come out. I give you that for what it's worth. So he has violent outburst tendencies, which we've heard on multiple occasions now. After talking to Mr. Blood, Poirot thinks that he sounds nervous, and that was exactly the moment where I thought, oh yeah, it's because he is smuggling drugs. Of course he's behind the heroin. Of course. He has a boat, he sails around all the time. It's perfect. He just stashes them in the cove, and then people come over to the little hotel, to the island, go to the cove, get the drugs, boop, boop, boop. And probably, maybe he also offered some to Mr. Redfern when they were sailing about, but I don't necessarily think that. But it was like, yeah, sure.
Next, the inquest is happening, where everyone talks about what they think might have happened, and of course it got delayed because the police is not revealing the hand just yet. But we get a talk between Rosamund and Captain Marshall that very, very much is like a... Well, it seems like they're in cahoots about something. Either that, or Rosamund thinks it was Marshall and wants to kind of, I don't know, help him. Or maybe it was Rosamund, or them two together. Maybe it's a red herring, we can never know. But I honestly think it was Captain Marshall. But let's stop there, okay? We also have a conversation between Linda and Rosamund, where Linda is like, oh my god, I'm so... like, she lets on that she maybe knows something, and Rosamund gets very like, no, you don't know anything, forget it, you've seen nothing, you've heard nothing. I think Rosamund thinks that Linda has seen her dad do something suspicious, but Linda is referring to the witchcraft she did, which I am right about, because now we find out what book it was that she was reading. Poirot has got the book, and finally it is A History of Witchcraft, Sorcery and the Compounding of Untraceable Poisons. So I think Linda may have done some witchcraft and thinks that she, or believes that she is, that it's because of her that Arlena died, or maybe she has done something with poison and she has thrown the bottle out to sea where she put the poison in, or some kind of thing like that. Anyway, I think she believes that she killed Arlena, but of course she didn't. Poirot goes around to everyone, talks to everyone, gets some more information, asks everyone if they took a bath when they were there, and no one says, like, all of them are like, no, I didn't bathe at that day, at that time. So, yeah, that amounts to nothing. One of them is lying. When Poirot was in the cave, he smelled something, and it smelled like a really fancy parfum. And the only two people that are wearing that specific parfum are the dead Arlena Marshall and also Rosamund. So one of them must have been in the cave. Poirot talks about, he asked the police for a little more info on any stranglings that have happened before, that maybe are still open, like that have not been solved.
and there's two in particular, and these two stranglings also of women. One of them was Nellie Parsons, and the other one was Alice Corrigan, and they happened close to the church where Mr. Stephen Lane was preaching at the time. And it turns out he actually went into a mental institution for a year because of his fixation on these, like, satanic horrors and the horror of Babylon and stuff like that. So, yeah, he's pretty misogynistic, but we already knew that. Anyway, the police now seems to think that, oh, maybe Mr. Lane had something to do with it, but I don't think so, because you know what Poirot also points out? He says the case about the strangled woman Nellie Parson, he gets no information from that, but Alice Corrigan, before they declared this as unsolved, they actually thought it was the husband, but the husband had an alibi, a very good alibi. He was on a train at the time. And he points that out as similar to this crime, where the most obvious person to do it, the husband, has a very good alibi, which I disagree with, and I will tell you why in a second. We get a thing from Poirot, which are all kind of his puzzle pieces, all things that have to be explained by what happened. So let me just give you the list. Gabrielle number 8, that's the perfume. A pair of scissors, found on the cove. A broken pipe stem, also found there. A bottle thrown from a window. My God, we've been over this one. A green calendar, that's specifically the calendar where Linda Marshall in her room were like these candles that were lit, and there was also a piece, a number 5 of a green calendar. A packet of candles, again the one in Linda's room. A mirror and a typewriter, I will say something about that. A skein of magenta wool, so this wool, it was right at the beginning when they still didn't know that Harlina was dead and they were all sitting at the beach. The American couple, Mrs. Gardiner, sent her man, Mr. Gardiner, to fetch some wool, this specific magenta wool. So the man went inside and he took longer than expected to come back outside because apparently the wool was misplaced. And so I think that means someone did something with the wool, took the wool, I don't know, and put it back in the wrong spot. And then a girl's wristwatch. Yeah, this one I have no idea. Where did that came in? A girl's wristwatch? Anyway, the mirror and typewriter. This is where I think the alibi, you know? Something weird happened, which was that Rosamond, of course, she said that she went to see Captain Marshall, but he was writing on a typewriter, and so he didn't see her, but she saw him. But now Captain Marshall came and actually said, oh, did she say that? No, actually, I did saw her, because when you come into his room, there's a big mirror, and he's sitting right in front of the mirror typing, and so he can see what's behind him. So he said, oh no, actually, I did see her when she came in. She just didn't see that I saw her. And when Poirot tells this to Rosamond, there's also kind of like a reaction. Oh, did he tell you this? Yeah, sure. Kind of like this. So I think the alibi is bullshit. Because what I have drawn here, the whole who is where when alibi blah 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 list, we can see that Rosamond doesn't really have an alibi. She says that she was on Sunny Cove, but they didn't really see her. They only saw, before they rode around, they saw her sunshade, but they didn't see her specifically. So she didn't need to be there necessarily. And from what we heard, the alibi of Captain Marshall was that he was in his room typing these letters that can only be typed at this specific time, because he just got the information like a few hours before by some letters that were coming to him in the morning, and then from that he took that information, wrote it into a letter, and that needed at least 1 hour because it was a very complicated thing. Now I think Rosamond is a very, very clever woman, and I think she could do it. I think she could have switched places with Marshall.
And Marshall went out, did the killing. Rosamund was in there, typing away. And then they switched back. Already the alibi of Captain Marshall is poof. You know, I don't know, is that so far-fetched? Also, he could have even mailed these letters to himself. That's a whole other thing, that a train that I was on for a long time, where I was like, did he just use a setup, like he just mailed it to himself somehow and then used this as an alibi and he wrote it the day before? Problem is they heard the typewriter, like the maid in the other room heard. But it doesn't have to mean that he is the one typing, right? I think that maybe they conspired in a way because they like each other. I definitely think my main suspect is Captain Marshall. I think it was the husband. It is always the husband. People look at the husbands. That's my opinion, okay? The police is also thinking that, yeah, Horace Blood is the one. He is definitely the one who's smuggling the heroin. No, like, of course. And so I think, yeah, I was when I read this, I was like, yeah, checks out. So I think he did the heroin smuggling, whatever, but he's not a murderer. No. Rosamund, I don't know what she was doing in the cave. Because I don't think Alina Marshall, if she was going to meet someone, right? I don't think she would go into the cave. Also, she is not from there. It's weird, because the only ones knowing about the cave were the people who grew up in this region, and that's Rosamund and Captain Marshall. And I think Captain Marshall has planned this for quite some time, because you realize Alina was the one who suggested going to meet Patrick Redfern, going to this hotel. And I think maybe Captain Marshall might have suggested it to Alina. Hey, we should go there. And then Alina suggested it to Patrick Redfern, and that's how they all come together. So I think this is a long haul, a plan. I just don't know if Rosamund is directly involved, if she was like a co-conspirator and is also like a murderer, or if she is just doing a lot of things to, like, if she believes that Captain Marshall did it and is doing all she can to kind of get him to safety because she likes him. I have like two chapters left. Let's see. Okay, they're talking about Lena now. Apparently everyone did kind of... Hercule Poirot asked everyone to go on a little picnic around the moors. They went, except for Linda, who stayed back because she said she had a headache. Now that they've come back to the hotel, they realized she took some sleeping pills and actually tried to kill herself. And in her suicide note that she put next to her bed, it says, "I'm very sorry, this is the only way out. I think I killed Arlena." Which I think is, of course, you know, the witchcraft thing. She thinks she's responsible for it, which she is not. But now they go into how she couldn't have done it and her alibi. And basically Christine Redfern is like, no, I've been with her the whole time. And I went to the hotel just before I went to tennis to 12. So she couldn't have done it. But Poirot points out, and that is where the wristwatch of the young girl comes in, that Christine didn't see the time herself. She asked Linda the time, and Linda told her. And then on her way back to the hotel, she was taking her time because she was thinking of leaving her husband and didn't realize that she actually had a lot of time and that Linda told her the wrong time. So Linda she does not have an alibi, basically. Poirot begins and says, "I must now describe to you certain things I found in your daughter's room after the murder. In the grate was a large blob of wilted wax." Oh my god. In the grate was a large blob of melted wax, some burnt hair, fragments of cardboard and paper, and an ordinary household pin. The paper and the cardboard might have not been relevant, but the other three things were suggestive, particularly when I found tucked away in the bookshelf a volume from the local library here dealing with witchcraft and magic. It opened very easily at a certain page. On that page were descriptions, various methods of causing death by molding in wax a figure supposed to represent the victim. This was then slowly roasted till it melted away, or alternatively you would pierce the wax figure to the heart with a pin. Death of the victim would ensue. I later heard from Mrs. Redfern that Linda Marshall had been out early that morning and brought a packet of candles, and had seemed embarrassed when her purchase was revealed. I had no doubt that had happened after that. Linda had made a crude figure of the candle wax, possibly adorning it with a snip of Arlena's red hair to give the magic force, had then stabbed it to the heart with a pin, and finally melted the figure away by lighting strips of cardboard under it. It was crude, childish, superstitious, but it revealed one thing, the desire to kill. See? I told you it was some kind of voodoo. Was there any possibility that there had been more than a desire? Could Linda Marshall have actually killed her stepmother? At first sight, it seemed as though she had a perfect alibi, but in actuality, as I have just pointed out, the time evidence was supplied by Linda herself. She could easily have declared the time to be a quarter of an hour later than it really was. I will read on. Okay, it's all ending right here. So before I read on, let me just give you my opinion. So as I said before, I believe Captain Marshall is the killer. I believe Linda is thinking that her witchcraft did something which it didn't do, but she is not actually the killer. And I think the Horace Blood is the drug dealer. Now, as to the whoever did the blackmailing, I've got no clue. I should think about it before I make this video. I will think about it. First of all, I want to go over some theories. The first theory I had was, well, that Emily Brewster and Mr. Redfern could have been in cahoots together. They went to the cove, and there they strangled and killed Arlena, and then they just pretended that they found her. So, yeah, I don't think that is the truth. I don't think that's how it went. As I said, I think it was Captain Marshall. But that was a possibility in my mind for quite some time. I will study the alibis, and I will come back to you with my verdict. Okay, I cannot come to a conclusion that is satisfying to myself. Because I still don't know, and I just desperately want to find out. So we're just gonna keep on reading. As to who the blackmailer is, I have got no idea. The thing is, there is Mayor Barry. So we're thinking of the blackmailer as a guy because his voice was described as low and scratchy. Major Barry might be one of the candidates, but he's been so insignificant in this whole novel that I don't believe it. I also don't believe the Americans have something to do with it. Although they could, for a moment I thought like, oh, they are actually the ones smuggling drugs, because right now they are doing England, so they are around going everywhere, and that would also be a good cover for a drug dealer, right? But I don't think they are. So then I don't think it's Marshall, because she said to the blackmailer, make sure that Marshall he will find out, so my husband will find out, so it's not him. Also, if he really killed Arlena, I think it's partly to get the money that he needs right now, which is like the £15,000 or whatever that Arlena has. But she does not have all of that money anymore because she paid the blackmailer. And I don't think he knew that. So I don't think it's him. And I cannot believe that it's Patrick Redfern. But then who would it be? Okay, Poirot just proposed that maybe Linda, she wrote the letter not just because she herself felt that she was really responsible for it, but she did it because she wanted to conceal who the real murderer is. She wrote it deliberately to shield someone else. And Captain Marshall said, "Do you mean me or what?" And he says, like, "I think the idea is absurd. Linda may have realized that I was regarded with suspicion at first, but she knew definitely by now that that was over and done with, that the police had accepted my alibi and turned their attention elsewhere." Poirot said, "And supporting that it is not so much that she thought you were suspected, but that she knew you were guilty." Marshall stared at him. He gave a short laugh. "That's absurd." Let's read on. What the fuck just happened? So, Poirot basically went the same route that I went, which I already thought, that's a little dangerous. Because I thought, okay, if he says it now, that cannot be the full truth, because there's so many pages left. Anyway, he said, that basically Miss Darnley went in to type the letters while Captain Marshall was off doing something else. Assume probably the murder, right? Exactly like that. That he wrote down some notes from the letters he received in the morning, and Miss Darnley was actually the one typing. Rosamond was the one typing. But then he quickly changes and is like, yeah, and actually, who was Alina Marshall going to meet? Because I assumed it would have been Mr. Patrick Redfern, but Mr. Redfern then appeared on the beach, so it was not him. Hercule Poirot says, not so devilish and so insidious as the man who killed Alina Marshall. Think back for a moment. Who did I think? Who did everybody think that Alina Marshall had gone to meet the morning? We all jumped to the same conclusion. Patrick Redfern. It was not to meet a blackmailer that she went. Her face alone would have told me that. Oh no, it was a lover she was going to meet, or thought she was going to meet. Yes, I was quite sure of that Alina Marshall was going to meet Patrick Redfern, but a minute later, Patrick appeared on the beach and was obviously looking for her. So what then? You were very obviously upset and surprised by her non-appearance. Almost too obviously, perhaps. It is my theory, Mr. Redfern, that she went to Pixie Cove to meet you, and that she did meet you, and that you killed her there, as you had planned to do. So Poirot thinks his theory, which is probably the right one, is that when they went onto the beach, Alina was hiding in the cave. That's why her scent is in the cave. She was hiding in there because she waited for Patrick to appear. And instead, who we saw lying on this beach was not the dead body of Alina Marshall. It was Christine, Patrick's wife, who was still alive, who was laying on the beach with his suntan, like tanning cream, whatever, pretending to be dead. And then when he sent Emily Brewster away to get the police, there was a moment when he was alone with his wife and Alina. Patrick, his wife, and Alina, and that's when he really killed Alina. And it was a pair of people doing the killing, but it was not Marshall and Rosamond. It was Patrick and his wife, Christine. And he also alleges that, do you remember the murder of Alice Cardell, whatever? Apparently, Mr. Patrick Redfern and his wife Christine Redfern, they actually used to go by different names. He was actually the husband of Alice Cordell, and she is the one who found Alice dead, and Christine was. And that is how the husband was cleared to have an alibi because the witness said that, oh yeah, Alice was actually killed at this and this and this time, which was not true. She was killed later, or maybe before then, but actually at a different time. It's a very difficult for me to explain, but they are behind not only this strangulation, but also another strangulation. Let me get all of the facts straight, but my God, I did the absolute worst. I only followed what the book wanted me to follow. I thought it was too obvious. I thought, no, this cannot be true. It's too obvious. But I should have stuck with my first theory that it was Patrick Redfern and Emily. It was not Emily, but it still was him. And it still was like, yeah, the alibis are useless because she was killed right there where she was discovered. And it's true. Oh my God. Can you please tell me why? At the last second, Agatha Christie always sneaks in something that I think is horrible, horrible, horrible. Anyway, this is supposed to be a happy end, people. Anyway, yeah, I was completely wrong. So, turns out, Christine Redfern and Patrick Redfern were not actually a married couple. It was all staged from the very beginning. Christine, when she visited Linda in the morning to go with her to paint something, she took Linda's watch, and she was the one that actually made the watch a little bit like put in the wrong time. So then when she asked Linda what time it was, Linda would see the wrong time, and she went into the beach, and Christine used that time to put her watch back to the correct time, and now Christine had a window where she could go do something. And exactly, she was from the beginning cleared out because of her small hands and feet, and she was also always making a show of, like, she seemed like a very fragile woman and very pale and everything, but she was actually quite sporty. And she ran to the beach. And so the whole thing is, because she and Patrick, they were working together, and Alina was actually quite a pitiful person. Like, she was not very bright. She would always fall in love with the wrong guys. Guys would first be fascinated by her and then just absolutely be like fall out of love very quickly and just use her. And Patrick was the same. He basically just used her for her money and he bled her dry. The blackmail never actually existed. Do you know who said that she heard Alina talk to a blackmailer? It was Christine. And she just said it so that they had an explanation for why Alina had less money now. Because she used to spend her money on Patrick Redfern. Patrick! And yeah, it was premeditated, like from the very, very start, actually. So we're in the morning, after Christine took the wristwatch and put in the wrong time, she went back to her room and she applied self-tanner. Then she chucked the self-tan bottle out of the window, which is the bottle that hit Miss Emily Brewster in the head. And then she put on some clothing with long arms and long legs so that she was not like that. Linda couldn't see her being tan. Then she went with Linda at the appropriate time. She asked Linda, "Hey, what time is it?" Linda said, "Oh, it's this and this." And she's like, "Oh, I need to go back." Da, da, da. Linda went into the ocean. The wristwatch was being brought back again, and Christine ran, and she ran down the cove, and Alina was waiting for Patrick Redfern, and Patrick had told her, if you hear anyone coming down the ladder, make sure you hide in the cave. That's why she went in there when she saw and heard Christine coming down. Then Christine, she had with her a big green hat, a replica of the hat that Alina would always wear, and a little red curl. She stuck the curl under the head and laid down flat on the beach, waited for them to be discovered. Miss Emily Brewster went back by boat to get some help. That is when Patrick held her up. Christine went out of the disguise, cut up the head and the red lock and stuffed it in her bathing suit, which is exactly why the scissors were left there. And then she went back, took the ladder back to the hotel and took a bath, washed off the self-tanner, bronzer, went into a tennis skirt and went on. And while this was happening, Patrick was alone with Arlena on the beach. He could say, "Hey, darling, it's me." She would come out. He would strangle her. Boom, dead. And when Emily Brewster returned, voila, dead Arlena. Also, why the wool was significant only because Mr. Gardner went up to fetch the wool and did not see Miss Rosamond, who said that at this time she was there looking in on Marshall, which she wasn't. And so that's why the wool was significant. Turned out not to be significant at all because, as I said, Rosamond thought it was Marshall and she thought his alibi might be a bit weak. So she said, "Oh yeah, I have seen him actually." And when Marshall heard that, he thought that, "Oh yeah, Rosamond's alibi is also a little weak. Let me just put a little check on that and say, yeah, actually I did also see her," just to make sure that like they were shielding each other basically. But both of them thought the other one did it because of these lies, you know? And then Rosamond heard that and was like, "Oh, he saw me," which obviously he couldn't have. So now she was sure that he did it. Oh my fucking god. Yeah. And I must say it's a very good read. I love it. I wish I could just read to you the whole last chapter because it's so interesting and I might have forgotten some details, but yeah, that's the gist of it. Patrick and Christine Redferns were the murderers and they have done it prior and they would probably have done it again. Whew. And then at the very end, we hear that Linda, she woke up, she took an overdose of sleeping pills, but she is okay again. She lived. And yes, she did it because she thought she was responsible because of her witchcraft, which I said all along. I know about witchcraft. I also remember saying that I think I said like, everyone thinks Arlena is such a bitch, but she's been nothing but nice for now. I don't know, maybe she's a bitch, but right now, And it turns out she's not. It's just misogyny. She was just a very, very nice-looking, good-looking women who attracted a lot of men, but who fell for them. And these men, she was just a bit stupid. Everyone thought, "Oh, she's such a homewrecker," but it's the men, people. It's the men. It's always the men who are the problem. I don't know why. But it's always men. And then the last thing that happens is that Rosamond and Captain Marshall talk to each other, and it's pretty clear that they will be a couple and they will marry soon, and it's supposed to be a happy end. But then he says like, "Oh yeah, we're going and living on the countryside." Oh yeah, let me just read this little bit for me because it's annoyed me. Rosamond, "You're going to give up that damn dressmaking business of yours and we're going to live in the country. Don't you know that I made a very handsome income out of my business? Don't you realize that it's my business, that I created it and worked it up and that I'm proud of it? And you've got the damn nerve to come along and say, 'Give it all up, dear?' I've got the damn nerve to say it, yes. And you think I care enough for you to do it? If you don't," said Kenneth Marshall, "you'd be no good to me." Rosamond said softly, "Oh, my dear, I've wanted to live in the country with you all my life. Now it's going to come true." And that's supposed to be a happy end? Don't fuck me up, Agatha. Don't do this to me. That's not happy. Let her keep her job. My God. Yes, she talked about in the very beginning that she feels kind of empty now that she's got her job but not a job. But what kind of message is that sending? What kind of message is that? Women are only good if they are there for their husbands and don't work on their own because business is just too hard for them. Fuck that shit. Agatha, why must you do this to me on the last few pages? Anyway, my voice is going. This has been a disaster, but it's over. I really like this Evil Under the Sun. And yeah, see you whenever. Bye-bye.